People who work for the super wealthy? What stuff have you seen? I was a manny for this tech executive's family making $18 an hour watching their 3 kids. The job was supposed to be temporary while I finished my business degree, but it ended up lasting 2 years. The parents were always traveling for work, so I practically raised these kids. Then, one random Thursday in March, the wife Diane pulls me aside while I'm helping her son with homework. She asks if my passport's current. I said, yeah, why? And she goes, we need you in Maui tomorrow through next Friday. The husband's company is doing an executive retreat and we can't find childcare in Hawaii. I'm thinking this is weird, but okay, I'll get like $500 bonus or something. She hands me a thick envelope. I open it in my car and it's $8,000 in cash. That's your spending money for the week, she'd said. $8,000. I made $720 a week before taxes. The next morning, a black car picked me up at 4 a.m. I met the family at a private terminal at the airport. Not like priority boarding, I mean a whole separate building where rich people get on planes. The flight was first class. The mom ordered me a mimosa at 6 a.m. like it was normal. Their youngest kid, Daisy, who was 7, fell asleep on my shoulder and Diane took a photo saying, you're so good with them. We landed and I'm expecting maybe a nice hotel. They drove us to the Four Seasons. My room was on the 8th floor with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. I looked up the rate later that night. $940 per night for 6 nights, just for me. The family had a 2-bedroom suite that cost more than my parents' mortgage. During the day, I'd take the kids to the beach. We'd build sandcastles, rent surfboards, get smoothies. I kept trying to be careful with money, but everything was so expensive. A kid's meal was $24. On day 2, I took them to this sea turtle sanctuary, and it cost $90 for the 4 of us to get in. I was starting to panic about the budget. That afternoon, the middle child, Lucas, who was 11, asked if we could get shaved ice. I pulled out a 20 from my own wallet because I'd already spent like $400 of their money. He looked at me confused and said, Mom gave you the card right. I said, what card? He called his mom who was in a meeting. She answered, and when Lucas explained, she started laughing. Oh my god, I completely forgot. She told me to just charge everything to their room number. Any restaurant, any activity, anywhere on the resort property. Don't even think about it, she said. That night, I ordered a $68 steak from room service because I could. The next day, I took the kids parasailing. $340. Bought them all new swimsuits because Daisy said hers was itchy. $280. Got myself a surf lesson. $175. I kept a detailed list of every purchase because I was terrified, but also kind of amazed. By day 5, I'd spent over $2,000 of their money on top of the original $8,000 they gave me. I tried to give Diane all my receipts when I saw her at dinner. She was wearing a dress that probably cost more than my car. She waved the receipts away without even looking. It's fine, she said. We trust you. That's when the oldest daughter, Sophia, pulled me aside. She was 16 and had barely talked to me all week. She'd been quiet, moody, staying in her room. We walked down to the beach and she said, can I tell you something? I said, of course. She goes, my parents are getting divorced. I froze. She said they told us 3 weeks ago. This whole trip, the family time, the resort, it's their goodbye vacation. They wanted one last trip as a family before dad moves to Singapore for work. Mom's keeping the house and we're staying with her. I suddenly understood why Diane had been taking so many photos. Why the dad kept hugging the kids extra long. Why they'd insisted on family dinners every single night even though they were usually too busy for that at home. I'd been watching their family fall apart in real time and thought it was a vacation. On the last night, they all had dinner together one final time. I wasn't invited and I understood why. I sat in my $940 hotel room, eating room service, thinking about how I'd spent their money on shaved ice and surf lessons while they were saying goodbye to each other. When we flew home, I gave Diane back $4,200 of the original $8,000. She looked confused and said you didn't need to do that, but I did. 2 months later, I got invited to Sophia's high school graduation. In her speech, she thanked her parents for always making her feel loved even when things changed. Then she looked right at me and said, and thank you to the people who showed up when it mattered. I still have the photo Diane took of Daisy asleep on my shoulder on that flight.